We got an update on the more than 47,000 documents that mysteriously vanished from the government's website. You know, some of these missing files contain disturbing allegations against a person who, for legal reasons, I can't say his name, but he's...
The files finally surfaced, the ones people had been talking about for years. The Jeffrey Epstein documents that seemed buried forever but somehow kept getting delayed again and again until now. And when they finally became public, Jimmy Kimmel stepped onto his stage with the kind of excitement that looked like someone who had been waiting forever to open a long overdue birthday gift. For him, this was not just another headline moving through the news cycle. This felt more like a massive table of revelations suddenly placed in front of the public with the names of powerful figures practically printed across it. Anyone who has been following this saga already understands the basic outline. Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier who was convicted as a sex offender, spent decades building connections with some of the most influential people on the planet, the way collectors gather rare cards. Politicians, royalty, billionaires, celebrities, the kind of people whose names dominate headlines. So when the Department of Justice released documents tied to Epstein's network, the internet reacted instantly and dramatically. Social media lit up in real time as people rushed to scan through thousands of pages because scattered throughout those records were names the public already knew very well.
After intense pressure from Congress, the Justice Department, just about an hour ago, published those missing files, including a transcript of the accuser's interviews. Coincidentally, as that happened, a group of pastors showed up at the White House to pray over Donald Trump, who is definitely taking a nap in that video. If you're wondering why Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and now Pam Bondi have to testify and Trump doesn't, it's because you can't put Donald Trump under oath. If he swears to tell the truth, that's already perjury.
What made those documents so painfully awkward for everyone mentioned inside them was the fact that the names were not limited to one political camp. Not even close. The list stretched comfortably across the entire political spectrum. Former President Bill Clinton appeared in the records. Prince Andrew showed up in them as well. And Jimmy Kimmel pointed out something with that familiar smirk he never seems to lose. According to him, nearly every powerful figure who saw their name pop up in those pages seemed to deliver the exact same carefully prepared explanation the moment the spotlight reached them. Suddenly, the story became very predictable. People claimed they barely knew Epstein at all. They said they might have crossed paths once at a charity function. Some admitted to taking a flight, but insisted they spent the entire trip reading quietly and minding their own business. The explanations sounded so similar that it almost felt like everyone was reading from the same script.
Communicate with Mr. Epstein.
Usually only on the trips. I did this once, as you know.
I'm done with this. If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can me from now.
All of a sudden, the Trump administration is interested in the safety of teenage girls. How about that? I think, you know what? Maybe Trump should get his gang together and say ixnay on the teenage Earls gay this week. Let's keep that one out of the speeches.
Kimmel clearly was not convinced by any of those explanations. In his view, when your name appears repeatedly in records connected to someone like Jeffrey Epstein over a span of many years, the phrase, "we barely knew him," begins to sound less believable. That contradiction became the core of the joke. These were individuals who regularly delivered speeches about integrity and responsibility. They described themselves as respected pillars of society and often operated with assistants who screened every phone call they received. Yet somehow Epstein had their numbers saved and accessible. It is a strange coincidence when you think about it. But the reason this particular moment in the news felt different from previous waves of Epstein coverage was simple. This time, the documents did not just hint at connections on the outer edges of the story, they cut straight into the center of it. And the name that appeared again and again throughout those records was Donald Trump, showing up thousands of times across the pages, rather than just a handful.
Be carefully following the path of Hurricane Epstein right now. It is a Category 5. It's expected to make landfall sometime very soon. We are now one step closer to answering the question, what did the president know and how old were these women when he knew it?
Kimmel ended up calling the entire situation Hurricane Epstein, and honestly, that description captured the chaos perfectly. The moment those files began circulating online, Donald Trump's behavior seemed to change almost overnight. This is someone who constantly presents himself as the most confident and dominant person in any room, yet his reaction looked more like someone startled by an unexpected knock at the door. Instead of addressing the documents head-on, Trump avoided directly discussing them. There was no formal press conference and no calm interview where he carefully explained the details. Instead, he responded the way he often does when a controversy starts gaining traction. He overwhelmed the news cycle with other headlines. Suddenly, lawsuits appeared everywhere. Legal actions targeting the IRS, Harvard University, and the New York Times were announced with enormous dollar figures attached. Each development arrived one after another, perfectly timed to shift media attention somewhere else. The strategy seemed designed to flood the public conversation so thoroughly that people might forget the original subject. In situations like this, the memory of Epstein becomes blurry while lawyers step forward to do the talking. And as Trump moved quickly to manage the fallout, Melania Trump stepped into a familiar role, defending a husband who continues to create situations that leave the public skeptical.
It was a parade of the unpleasant, and no one seemed to be enjoying themselves less than Melania. That is the look of someone who's wondering when Congress is going to vote to release.
Now, it is worth taking a moment to talk about Melania, because this aspect of the story rarely gets the attention it deserves. For years, she has presented herself as calm, composed, and untouched by the chaos surrounding her husband. Her public image has always been the elegant partner who remains loyal, regardless of what headlines appear in the news. When the Access Hollywood recording surfaced years ago, she dismissed it as casual locker room talk. During the presidency, when multiple accusations against Trump appeared, she publicly stated those women were not telling the truth. According to testimony given by Michael Cohen during a court proceeding, the locker room talk explanation was not even Donald Trump's original idea, it was reportedly Melania's suggestion. Now, with the Epstein documents becoming widely discussed and offering no special exemption for anyone connected to the story, Jimmy Kimmel aimed his humor toward her as well. The timing of his sharpest jokes about Melania felt especially noticeable because they landed right in the middle of this renewed Epstein controversy. While the country was asking uncomfortable questions and examining the documents, Melania chose that exact moment to introduce a major new project of her own. She announced the release of a film centered on her life.
Amazon shelled out $40 million to make this movie and another $35 million to promote it, which is so much more than probably any documentary ever. But they want you to know that this had nothing to do with the fact that her husband is a petty, vengeful bloodsucker. A spokesperson for Amazon said, "We licensed the film for one reason and one reason only, because we think customers are going to love it." And then she laughed and laughed until they had to carry her away.
The reported budget attached to that project raised even more eyebrows. According to several reports, Amazon spent around $75 million producing and promoting a documentary about Melania Trump titled Simply Melania. When Kimmel heard that number, his reaction was immediate. He joked that the amount sounded less like a generous compliment and more like something closer to a strategic favor. In his view, it seemed unlikely that a streaming company would spend more on a documentary than many studios invest in full-scale blockbuster movies purely because of Melania's personal popularity. Kimmel suggested the real reason had everything to do with the fact that her husband remains one of the most powerful political figures in the country. After all, Donald Trump is someone known for keeping track of his critics and supporters. Kimmel also mentioned that Melania told Fox News the former president loved the documentary and described it as essential viewing. Kimmel quickly responded that of course Trump would consider it essential viewing because the film focuses on his own household. Then he joked that Trump probably watched the first few minutes before drifting off halfway through with popcorn in hand, which honestly matches the short attention span many critics already associate with him.
The premiere of Melania's documentary, not since The Terminator has there been this much excitement for a movie about a European cyborg. Among the Luminaries in attendance were Beyonce, Leonardo DiCaprio, Lady Gaga. Oh, no, wait, it was Dr. Phil and Waka Flocka Flame. In addition to President Cecil B. DeWindmill, the guest list included disgraced former New York City Mayor Eric Adams, Dr. Oz, Todd and Julie Chrisley, RFK. It was either a movie premiere or season 35 of Dancing with the Stars. The premiere, it was not without controversy. Poor Eric Trump, he kept yelling chicken jockey at the screen. They had to throw him out.
The situation grew even more entertaining once the film held its official premiere at the Kennedy Center. That venue has increasingly become associated with the political orbit surrounding Trump, which added another layer of irony. Kimmel watched footage from the event, examined the guest list, and delivered one of his most memorable lines of the year. He told his audience the event looked either like a major Hollywood premiere or the launch of a new season of Dancing with the Stars, and he genuinely could not decide which one it resembled more. Then he delivered another jab that drew even louder laughter from the crowd. He joked that not since The Terminator had there been this much anticipation for a movie focused on a European cyborg. The joke was sharp and undeniably harsh, but it landed because it touched on a perception many viewers already hold. Melania Trump has carefully constructed an image built around elegance, emotional distance, and total composure. Yet Kimmel keeps poking at that image again and again, and every time he does, the audience responds with laughter. According to testimony from Michael Cohen, that carefully managed public persona has always been intentional. Melania was never just standing quietly in the background. She has played an active role in shaping the narrative around the Trump brand, and when controversies begin shaking the walls of that brand, some of the attention naturally reaches her as well. Meanwhile, while all of this drama unfolded, Donald Trump unintentionally handed Kimmel an entirely new storyline to explore when a major political shakeup occurred on March 5, 2026.
Tonight, Secretary Noem no longer. President Trump ousting perhaps the most divisive member of his cabinet, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who led his immigration enforcement crackdown. The president abruptly announcing her firing on social media, writing, "I thank Kristi for her service at Homeland," saying she had numerous and spectacular results, especially on the border. Moments later, this awkward split screen.
Thank you for coming to this conference.
Noem on stage at a law enforcement conference, but never mentioning her firing. A top administration official tells NBC News President Trump already frustrated by a series of Noem's high-profile controversies. This week was infuriated by her testimony before lawmakers, where she was repeatedly pressed on her role securing a $220 million border security ad campaign.
That date marked the first cabinet dismissal of Trump's administration, and the way it unfolded felt almost perfectly aligned with his signature style. Kristi Noem, the former governor of South Dakota who had been serving as Secretary of Homeland Security, suddenly became the latest former official in his orbit. The most surprising detail was how she discovered the news. Instead of receiving a private phone call or a respectful conversation inside the Oval Office, she learned about the decision the same way the rest of the country did. Trump announced it publicly on his social media platform, Truth Social. There was no quiet meeting and no carefully worded statement delivered behind closed doors, just a public message posted online to an audience that often opens the platform primarily to see what Trump is reacting to that day. In the message, he thanked Noem for her work and even highlighted moments like her appearances wearing different outfits while participating in immigration enforcement operations, including one widely discussed horseback patrol moment. During her time in office, there had been protests, controversial immigration enforcement incidents, and criticism from both political parties. When questions eventually emerged about certain enforcement advertisements and who authorized them, Trump responded with a familiar explanation. He claimed he had no knowledge of the campaign, despite the fact that many observers believed otherwise.
Already has a guy ready to replace her. The president's pick is Markwayne Mullin, the senator from Oklahoma. Markwayne Mullin is a former MMA fighter and a plumber. Before this, he had a plumbing business. According to White House staffers, Trump loves watching him on TV. And I agree, I love watching him on TV too. In the same way I loved watching Honey Boo Boo on TV. We have seen a good bit of Senator Mullen over the past couple of years, and let's just say that Mark Wayne is no Mark Twain.
When you're talking about drinking at 10 in the morning, that's a drinking problem. Now, it doesn't mean that there should be a stigma.
Then there's a lot of politicians that have a drinking problem, Jake.
Yes, of course.
He just got in saying that the president was racist because he doesn't like brown people. Yet I sat in front of you as a Cherokee Indian, and I'm very close friends with a...
The next question naturally became who would step into the role after Noam's departure. Trump selected Senator Mark Wayne Mullen from Oklahoma. Jimmy Kimmel described him bluntly as a former mixed martial arts fighter who also worked as a plumber before entering politics. Trump's announcement on Truth Social proudly referred to Mullen as a devoted supporter of the MAGA movement and highlighted several personal details, including the fact that he is the only Native American senator currently serving in Congress. The way the announcement emphasized that fact struck many observers as unusual for a cabinet appointment. Kimmel's reaction arrived quickly. During his show, he told viewers that according to people inside the White House, Trump enjoys watching Mullen appear on television. Then Kimmel played a short compilation showing several of Mullen's past TV appearances. After the clip ended, Kimmel looked straight at the camera and delivered a line that immediately drew laughter from the audience. He said, "Mark Wayne is definitely no Mark Twain," a comparison that was both funny and brutally honest.
Kristi Noem will be, as Trump said, moving to be special envoy for the Shield of the Americas, our new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere. And I think I speak for all of us when I say we wish Kristi luck in her brand new, completely made-up job. You know, Trump is interesting. Trump was said to be particularly unhappy with Noem's testimony, claiming that he signed off on a $220 million ad campaign that featured her in commercials wearing different outfits, rounding up immigrants and riding a horse. Trump claims he didn't know anything about it, even though we all knew everything about it. But you know him, he doesn't watch much television. Hi, President Trump, how are you?
But the most revealing part of the entire situation came from the language Trump used when announcing Noem's departure. Technically, he never said she had been fired. According to the wording of his own message, she was not being removed from her position at all. Instead, she was supposedly being reassigned to an important new role described as Special Envoy for the Shield of the Americas. Anyone who has watched the way Trump operates for even a short time immediately recognizes this pattern. In his world, people rarely get fired outright. They are instead moved into positions with impressive-sounding titles that have no clearly defined responsibilities, no dedicated staff, no significant budget, and no specific mission. These roles exist largely to protect Trump's image, because acknowledging that someone was dismissed would mean admitting a mistake. Instead, they are promoted to a mysterious job that few people can actually explain. Melania Trump, in many ways, reflects a similar strategy. She represents a form of human rebranding. Her polished public appearance stands calmly in front of the noise surrounding the administration. She delivers speeches about unity and encourages people to trust the official narrative rather than the evidence in front of them. Yet the Epstein documents do not respond to careful image management. Millions of published pages cannot simply be spun away. Meanwhile, Jimmy Kimmel, whom Trump has repeatedly criticized by calling him untalented and unsuccessful, continues appearing on television night after night. He keeps telling these stories, keeps turning them into jokes, and continues doing it all with a confident smile on his face.